In 1996, a group of agents show up to a hospital to collect a number of orphaned children. They give each child a unique tag before taking them to a secret program where they would grow into the ideal soldiers. They are carefully selected and put through a rigorous training regimen during which they learn that weakness is never an option, that they must always be flawless, always follow instructions, and never express any emotion. They subject the children to animal fighting and killing in order to make them desensitized to violence. Additionally, they are confined to their rooms and are constantly watched over. The youngsters start getting their minds and more complex abilities trained when they become 8. Every day, they must attend class and complete a variety of puzzles and strategy challenges. The training becomes harsh after the children hit 12. The children must run many miles each day to maintain their physical fitness. One day, as they race through a field, one of the boys falls behind from tiredness. The program has no place for weakness, so a truck comes for the youngster and murders him mercilessly. The other lads must continue running. They are not permitted to respond. When the children become adolescents, they receive pistol training and are instructed to shoot everyone who gets in their way, never being allowed to show mercy while on missions. These guys are fully formed weapons and prepared for battle by the time they reach 17, which is indicated by a unique tag tattoo on their faces. Todd is the top soldier in this group. He has several scars, yet he hasn't failed a mission by the year 2036. He leads the special squad through bloody fights where they mercilessly murder everyone they come into contact with. He goes all around the planet, and even to the moon. Todd will go to any lengths, killing an innocent woman, to accomplish his goal. He has never interacted with regular people and just thinks about the objective, not his comrades. Church, the guy in charge of this unique unit, is ecstatic with the accomplishments of his squad. Things quickly become tricky, though, when Colonel Meekum shows up at their camp with a brand new battalion and explains that these troops are genetically developed and nearly superhuman. He interprets this to indicate that they are superior than Church's guys and that Church ought to discontinue his program. Church disagrees, arguing that nothing can compare to the years of experience of his warriors. Meekum then suggests holding a competition between the two units to determine which is superior. Meekum asks Kane to speak on behalf of his group. When the tests start, Kane immediately establishes his superiority. He is more adept with the firearms and is able to carry heavier loads without becoming fatigued. Todd wins a running contest because Meekum gives him an additional 20 minutes. However, even though Kane started much later than Todd, he still outruns Todd once he begins to run. Church continues to reject this and claims that fresh recruits lack fighting spirit, so he adds a new test. Todd and Kane start climbing some steel chains, and Kane once more shows his superiority despite starting later. Next, Church requests a fight on the chains to demonstrate the importance of combat experience. Meekum boasts that 3 persons should oppose Kane in order for it to be fair. Todd is soon joined on the chains by 2 additional soldiers, but this has little effect. Kane immediately murders both soldiers, tossing their bodies on the ground, after exchanging a few blows with them. Todd manages to hang around for a little while longer and leaps on Kane, breaking his face and causing him to lose an eye. Kane, who is still capable of fighting, tosses Todd onto the heaps of dead victims. Meekum prevailed, but he is still enraged and shouts at Kane because an injury like that makes him less than flawless. Church welcomes the new unit, believing Todd to be truly dead, and although the elder veterans aren't slain, they will no longer be on active service. Meekum gives the order to discard the bodies as rubbish, and a massive spacecraft transports all the debris to Arcadia, a planet entirely made of trash. Todd awakens on the journey and experiences fear for the first time in his life upon realizing his location. Todd does his hardest to cling on as the ship hatch suddenly opens to let free of all the debris, but he still falls to the planet. Fortunately, he avoids serious injury and continues to explore the region. He initially only sees trash, but later he starts to see humans wandering around in rags. Todd makes the decision to follow them, but just then, a massive sandstorm strikes the region, forcing Todd to stay back until it passes. Todd eventually makes it out of the storm and into a cemetery, where he discovers that many people have perished on this world. He eventually reaches what appears to be a settlement that these people have constructed from trash and ship pieces after additional trekking. He slips around the steps, but before he can act, Todd is knocked over by a burst of wind and passes out while a group of children watch. Following that, disagreements regarding Todd's fate break out among everyone in the colony. They are unsure of whether or not to believe Todd because it has been a long time since anybody fresh arrived on this world. Finally, the commander agrees to assist Todd, but Mace must continue to watch over him. Todd is being looked for by Mace's wife Sandra, who also gives him medicine. Nathan, the couple's small child, is intrigued by Todd but is kept away from him by his parents. Todd sees the family having a good time when he is finally well enough to come out of bed, and he is unsure of how to feel. Todd chooses to remain good for the time being when Mace demonstrates the crutch he created for him. When Todd's family brings him to the community dining hall in the evening, everyone is leery of him since he eats a lot and doesn't talk, in addition to having army tattoos. People start to feel more empathetic for Todd after he answers why he was replaced by a better soldier when they inquire about his situation. After that, Todd spends his time with Sandra learning how to perform simple daily tasks. Sandra takes advantage of the opportunity to inform him about the colony. Before the ship broke down and they crash-landed here, the inhabitants were on their own ship, traveling. Sandra doesn't worry that Aid never arrived after the incident 3 years ago because they live in peace and no one disturbs them here. Meekum explains that he has been keeping an eye on the Arcadia system and that he plans to put up observation posts there. Additionally, he wants to deploy his brand new men on patrol. If there are any minors or refugees, they will be categorized as hostiles, which the church does not support. Todd is shocked when Sandra teaches him how to plant a sprout as Todd is tending to the gardens back in Arcadia. Sandra shoots a snake that suddenly approaches, warning that they may be harmful. Nathan was unwell for a very long period after being bitten once. He is presently doing better, although he is still unable to speak. Todd goes out with the men later to remove items from the garbage. They all carry chains attached to their belts so they won't lose them due to the weather. Unluckily, a severe sandstorm then hits the region, and a guy is caught in the wind. Before their companion is carried off inside an ancient machine, the lads begin to pull on the chain, but they lack the strength to stop the wind. Todd then joins in and starts yanking on the chain, using his power alone to bring the man out of the storm. Todd picks up a weapon that was dropped during the battle, but the guys instantly demand it back and praise him for his assistance. Todd becomes curious as a spacecraft flies above them, but it is explained that the dumper ships just drop their cargo and disappear. As the days go by, Todd becomes used to colony life, working alongside the guys to salvage rubbish and alongside Sandra to do duties. Todd accidentally cuts his finger one evening while watching Sandra, and he isn't even aware of the agony until Sandra tends to the wound. Todd responds that he's always being disciplined when she asks what life is like for a soldier, which causes her to console him by giving him a hug. The colony holds a great party around Christmas. Up until some crackers go off and Todd misinterprets them for gunshots, Todd is doing okay. His PTSD is triggered by this, and he starts to remember all the awful training he threw. Todd hides himself on the roof to observe the party from a distance out of fear for what he could do. The next day, Todd uses punching a bag to control his aggressive training. But many horrifying memories of death and devastation, like the time he had to murder a kid, are still brought back by this. A guy approaches Todd at that same time to offer him a present, but Todd is still mired in his memories and sees only an adversary, so he shoves the man by the throat. Throwing him inside a machine nearly kills him, but thankfully he awakens just in time and discovers that many others are watching. Everyone is once more scared of him now, especially when he continued to hit the bag until his hands began to bleed. This brings up another recollection of him assaulting a fellow student in the classroom as his teacher warned him not to show pity. Nathan shows Todd that he has solved the conundrum when Todd awakens some hours later. A snake appears at that very time, and Todd tries to demonstrate Nathan how to kill it, but Nathan freezes out of fear. Todd dives in right away and grabs the snake, but he doesn't kill it. Instead, he begs Nathan to give it another go. Suddenly, Sandra and Mace show up, kill the snake, and reprimand Todd for endangering Nathan. By this time, the colony has had it, and decides Todd won't fit in and is now too dangerous, so they expel him. As Todd grabs his belongings and departs, he surprises himself by crying for the first time ever. Soon after that, a snake appears on the bed while Sandra and Mace are comfortably dozing. Nathan arrives and heroically kills the snake like Todd had shown him just as it is ready to bite Mace. After realizing that Todd had been correct, Mace dashes outside to find Todd, who she finds cowering in the trash. He extends an apology and an invitation to return. As soon as a spacecraft carrying Meekum's warriors touches down on the planet, Todd recognizes it as a military vessel and orders Mace to flee with him. The colony sounds an alarm to prepare for battle as soon as several vehicles and troops, including Kane, exit the ship. The soldiers then launch an assault, firing at everyone they see. Todd must take Mace away when one of the several explosions that start to go off hits him. Todd tries to treat Mace's wounds when they find a hiding place, but it's too late and Mace passes away while pleading for his family. Church learns about the colony in the meanwhile, but Meekum commands his forces to murder anybody, even if they are a civilian. Church decides to prepare his veteran men just in case. The colony's commander emerges to make contact with the soldiers, but she is just shot in the spot. The colonists commence fire right once to protect their home, but their little arsenal is unable to hold off such a large force, and soon the troops are wreaking havoc on the town and killing people. They also arrive with flamethrowers, which they use in the most cruel way possible to slowly burn individuals to death. Todd then punches a hole through the roof, killing one of the flame troops. The other flame soldier is now pursuing Sandra and the children, so he takes weapons from the dead victims and heads their way. Fortunately, Todd arrives just in time and uses a rocket launcher to kill the man. Todd orders everyone crouch before opening the door and firing one more rocket to also kill this soldier when he starts shooting through the wall. Todd seizes the soldier's radio and transmits a growl to see what happens next. Meekum is unsure about what to do next. Church suggests that he withdraw his soldiers, and Meekum agrees. After the troops have left, the colonists spend their time tending to the injured, and Sandra is horrified to learn that Mace has passed away. In preparation for retaliation, Todd gathers as many weapons as he can and paints his face. Todd approaches the landing zone covertly, fires one of the cars, and causes chaos. Todd launches a covert strike from the shadows as the troops emerge to seek for him. A snake is tossed at one man as another is forced over the roof. Then Todd sneaks into the water to startle two more soldiers with shots before stabbing one. As backup soldiers arrive, Todd starts shooting everyone without regard for their retaliation. It seems that he has a puppet set up, which he is using to operate the weapon remotely. In order to murder several soldiers at once, he has also put up some explosives. Todd fastens himself to some outdated equipment as a sandstorm approaches at that same time and sweeps away the final guys still standing. Todd climbs from above to land on the roof and starts killing any personnel he can see because the final soldiers are in cars. The drivers are then killed by explosives that he throws through the door. Nevertheless, Kane is still driving his vehicle and striking the settlement once more, doing more harm. Todd takes a truck and pursues Kane by ramming into it in order to approach him covertly. As soon as Kane exits his car, he grabs some medication for his injuries from his luggage. Todd looks for Sandra and the children to save them, but Kane returns for another fight. The guys start fighting again, trading punches and damaging every aspect of the colony they can, including a falling sign and a wrecked helicopter's glass. When Todd catches a glimpse of a weapon on the ground, it appears like Kane has the upper hand and attacks first. This was a ruse, and Todd used the opportunity to finally use a helicopter blade to gravely wound Kane. Then, after knocking him to the ground with a blow, he clutches his neck and kills him. Moments later, Todd and the survivors are discovered by Church's former army, which doesn't fight them since they still revered their former leader. Meekum instructs Church to go without the senior men as he believes he has lost all of his soldiers. When Church objects, Meekum murders him right away. Meekum is captured by the Elder Unit as it enters the ship and is taken to Todd, who is so terrifying that Meekum wets his trousers as he pleads for help. Meekum and his advisors are then expelled from the ship and placed on Arcadia, where a bomb detonates, killing them all. The colonists who are still alive board the ship safely, and it is revealed that they are now en route to a better place to live. Todd finally gets to experience what genuine loving is like as Nathan begs him to pick him up.